Hello everyone, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and today we are looking at Neverwinter, the beta of the new D&D MMO. So this is not DDO, this is not Neverwinter Nights, this is an MMO based in the Neverwinter universe, which is of course Forgotten Realms for those of you familiar with it. Now I'm going to do a very quick overview of the video, the graphics options, because I know a lot of you are PC hardware enthusiasts, if not all of you at this point. And just to sort of recap everything here, you have up to 8x anti-aliasing, which is fairly standard. It's actually kind of on the nice end for an MMO. The lighting quality is only lower high, so not too amazing for your options there. Shadows can be low, medium, high, or off. And then you can set maximum number of lights per object, which is of course going to affect your ability to render the more advanced lighting scenarios. And shader quality is also there. So a lot of these are slider based. You can adjust the world texture quality in percentages. So this is very RAM intensive. It's actually, because of the recording I may reduce this, but one thing, I can't increase the world detail distance right now, but I imagine it will go to 200% as well in the future. You'll see that the terrain detail distance, which is your level of detail at farther view distances, the terrain detail goes up to 300%. You've probably noticed the character detail distance is 200%, and world detail, which is your world structures like buildings, is 100% right now. The reason, if you're curious, terrain detail goes farther is because you're going to be loading that terrain prior to loading the objects therein, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, but it's also just, it's friendlier to your system resources. Got some more details for higher detail objects. You can toggle or enable or disable them based on your distance. Post-processing FX is all there. High, medium, low for visual FX quality. Bloom is just... most of you are familiar with Bloom, of course. We can't see it on this screen, but Bloom is just the way the game interprets the dynamic lighting with respect to, for example, take a lake, right? You have some kind of fog over the lake, and that fog will be dynamically lit up by the sun or whatever light source you have in the game. That's what Bloom is in control of. You don't want to go too much over 100% because it'll look really washed out. So then some lens flares, and that's pretty much it. Moving on, we have character creation, which is of course much more interesting to many of you. So we will create one on the Dragon Shard. I already had a character there, but you have your basics and then a coming soon over here who looks like a Sith Lord. So I imagine we will have tieflings, halflings, and Sith Lords when the game is done. Obviously male, female characters. You have humans, dwarves, male, female, elves, male, female, halflings, tieflings, and the loser half-elves who aren't quite anything. Down here you see our abilities or modifiers that ship with the character. This is all D&D 4th edition based. I believe there may be some next stuff mixed in, but I don't know. I haven't kept too up to date with D&D past 3.5 and the beginnings of 4th, but this is 4th edition based for those familiar with the tabletop game. You have different bonuses that make sense for each race, of course. Elves are more agile, humans are more mid-range, dwarves are sturdy, halflings also agile and sturdy, or courageous I should say, tieflings infernal, and half-elves, again, losers. So let's create, I haven't created a dwarf character yet, so let's make one of those. Let's hit next. You'll see here we have, it defaults you to the class it thinks is best for your race, which, if I can interject here, I personally think this is a terrible idea. I understand why they're doing it, but one, it encourages min-maxing, which is incredibly boring, and two, everyone's gonna have like the same templated characters. Templates they're so boring for MMOs, and really it kind of breaks the immersion. So I mean, what are you going to do, right? The other option, I guess, is default to the first one, and that's just not going to work, because then everyone will choose Rogue. But regardless, we have fighters, who are just tanks. Each of these has a Paragon path, just like in 4th edition. I think there are 3 subtypes of each major archetype. This will probably be a magic user. So fighters, you have rogues, ship with stealth, bait and switch, which is basically you put down a decoy and jump backwards, and then the enemies are tricked into attacking it. And then you have some other stealth-based skills. Clerics, of course, healers and speak with the astral realm. They have ship with a flame strike ability and are able to interact with religious symbols. In the game, there are different elements, which the fighter is the best example because he has dungeoneering. There are different elements in the game that certain classes can only interact with, just like D&D. The rogue is the only one, I believe, that can interact and disable and detect traps without you actually stepping on them to detect them. The fighter, likewise, is the only one that can interact with dungeoneering objects, which are normally lore-based or otherwise helpful for getting some kind of special advantage or loot or whatever in the dungeon. Let's choose fighter just for the sake of doing it. So now we can roll our ability scores like in D&D. So you get to pick your two options. You can choose a racial ability, +2 Constitution, +2 Strength, or a +2 Con, +2 Wisdom. For those not familiar with the Dungeons & Dragons rule set, Strength governs your ability to hit things and deal damage, also lift some objects. Intelligence governs your, effectively, magicka for the Elder Scrolls players. It's your ability to cast spells effectively. Constitution is your ability to take damage. It affects your armor class or your armor points, however you want to call it. It affects your health. Wisdom governs some skills, like, as this says, perception, which is your ability to spot or listen to things. So very useful if you're rolling spot checks silently. This isn't done in front of the player. You're rolling spot checks in the background to detect certain things. Dexterity governs your agility and your armor class as well, and ability to use some weapons effectively, like bows. And Charisma governs the bluff and other speaking skills. In games, that doesn't translate quite as well as the tabletop game, but I would imagine that there are some kind of bluff, like feint attacks or something like that, skills involved in the game. Now, we don't care about Charisma, we'll go with that. So now we have preset appearances. These are all very ugly, as is common with Dwarves, I suppose. So you have a couple of presets, and then, of course, you can customize. So if you hit Customize, you get here and you can choose different shapes, forward, full, focus, stern, snarl, and complete with missing teeth. So let's go with that one for the purposes of this video. And then hair, you can choose all these different options. They're the same, they're identical for every race, including tieflings, so you're not missing out or gaining certain options based on the character's race. And just go through all of these. There's an Einstein dwarf for you. Let's choose that one. Next, we have eyes. These will vary based on race, unlike the hair. Oh yeah, you can choose color as well. So let's stick with that one. Eyes, you can choose glowing, natural, blind, blind left, blind right, hurt left, and hurt right. And we're just gonna go with we'll go with glow. Eyebrows, pretty straightforward for this race for dwarves. We'll just go with that. And then you get the beard options. So for halflings, you can only have either plain or mutton chops right now. Dwarves seem to be the most filled out in that regard, as would make sense. I would imagine that these will change, as the game is currently only in beta. Let's go back and correct that color. We'll go there. Complexion. This is just effectively how old your character looks. Go with that. This is only for tieflings, this section. Tattoos. There are a couple of pretty cool ones. One of them looked a lot like Irenicus's facial scars that I saw earlier. Let's go with that just because it's kind of crazy looking. Go with do a green or something. And then scars, straightforward as well. Doesn't need a lot of explaining. Scaling, this is kind of cool. You can scale just about everything on your character's face with sliders, just like in single-player RPGs and some other MMOs. So pretty cool stuff if you care about that. I personally do not. I'm going to leave it alone. You get your body archetype, so to speak. So for dwarves, they all look pretty much the same, even the slim one. We're going to go with heavy, though. And then finally, body scaling, which lets you also scale more individual aspects of your character. So that is pretty much the deal with character creation. There's really not much more to it than that, other than this screen, which is your origin. These are different cities or valleys or areas within the Forgotten Realms universe. I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure what time period Neverwinter Online is supposed to take place. previously the games, they've been all over the place. I think even Drizzt appeared in one of the games for those familiar, with the Du-Erden family. We do see Myth Draenor still exists, so it's before the Myth Draenor module that existed in D&D 2nd edition, if anyone played that. But anyway, you choose your starting location, so you could say the Forest of Cormyr, or Baldur's Gate, more familiar. And then you get to choose your organization or affiliation within that category. And this really just affects your character background. I don't know that it affects your skills too much. I could be wrong, but I don't think it does. So you see you have a little bit of background here it generates for you. It tries to give you some purpose in the game because, as we'll discuss later in another video, you really don't have much purpose. It doesn't give you a point. It just says, okay, here's a tutorial, go play. So not a lot of introduction other than this text, making it pretty important. Then you have your deities, like Selûne, of course, the moon goddess. And who else do we have here that I'm familiar with? There's Corellon, the elven god, I believe. Corellon Larethian, I think, is his full name. And then Shantae, the, what is she? The god of livelihood and farmers. Moradin, of course, being the traditional dwarven god. And then there are a couple others here. I guess that's trade. However you say that. Sounds like an orc god almost. And then Tempest, of course, is also very popular. Let's just go with Moradin. Hit continue. This is your summary screen, and you get to do your character name and all of that. Type in a brief biography if you want. In the next video, or in one of the other videos, I don't know which we'll finish uploading first, you will see the gameplay and first impressions and my own overview, what I think of the game as a whole. So check that out for more. This was the character creation and video settings for Neverwinter Online, and with that, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.